Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier and have a balanced lifestyle. Our first guest today is Julie Makin, a psychotherapist specialising in hypnotherapy, and we will be exploring whether rejection is sabotaging your self-esteem. Welcome, Julie. It's so great to have you.
Lovely. Thanks very much for having me.
So what is rejection?
Okay, so rejection is a feeling that we get within our bodies. So when we feel it and when it comes up for us, it's kind of like an internal wound. And when it's touched, when something happens to us within our environment and that wound is touched, it really hurts. It really, it's painful. That can also trigger the brain's same process. So that might trigger that feeling in the body, that pain and hurt within the body. So it is actually felt as a physical pain.
And what is self-esteem and how is it impacted by rejection?
A lot of people actually seem to get confused between confidence and self-esteem. And confidence is confidence in abilities. So when you're a fantastic cook, you're great in the kitchen, but take you out of the kitchen and put you in, to be a car mechanic, and all of a sudden you're not so good. You're not going to have confidence there, but you have confidence in the kitchen. Self-esteem is about how you value and perceive yourself. It has to do with the stories that you tell yourself. I don't matter, and I'm not good enough. And when we're telling ourselves these stories, it actually affects how we feel about ourselves internally. And when we feel about ourselves that way internally, our body language changes, our energy changes, and it affects the way not only you perceive yourself, but how others treat and perceive you. The way that rejection affects low self-esteem, I'd like to tell you just a little bit of a story about myself. Look, I grew up in a household where my parents would be gold standard parents, all right? So what they taught me was, to be compliant. They taught me to do as I was told. They taught me that other people matter, to put others' needs ahead of my own, that not to talk over anybody else because that would be rude. But in actual fact, what they were teaching me was that I don't matter, to put everybody else ahead of me. And what I can tell you is that in order to be authentic, to feel good about yourself, you really need to be asking yourself, is this right for me? And checking back in with the body and how it feels. Find that reconnect with the body. I grew up with IBS. So I really started to notice it back in high school. I had this mass bad pain in my gut. It was seriously like a 9 out of 10. And I found myself going past the empty classrooms. It was recess, past the metalwork room, past the woodwork room, past the kids that were out there playing t-ball, and I didn't think I was going to make it to the reverse charge, phone, because I wanted to call my mum. Anyway, I got down there, was able to call my mum. My mum came and got me, and by the time I got home, the pain had subsided. I felt safe at home. So rejection not only has you feeling a pain and hurt about how you value and perceive yourself, but your body also responds to it. It helps you to escape. The IBS would actually help me escape the school ground. It helped to show me when I don't feel safe. And just to lead on from there, as an adult and understanding how rejection affects my body, and when somebody else is attacking you, your body shouts loudly when needed, and it's up to us to listen. So rejection, self-esteem, your body's letting you know. Now, because I was brought up in that family, I'm going out there into the world with that conditioning. And so I'm actually attracting people to me that are perhaps wanting to manipulate me, and they know it from your body language, they know it in how you speak about yourself, how you approach others. And you may find manipulative people that will take advantage of you. And I do feel that this is where domestic violence actually comes into play. To me, mental health and that feeling of safety is really number one priority for our community, for our society, for our government to start listening.
If someone's been rejected, how can they rebuild their self-esteem? Can you tell our audience how they can build their self-esteem, what they can do?
Of course. Okay, so when somebody's feeling hurt and pain, it's from a previous wound. So I invite them to start asking themselves, is this safe? You know, do I feel safe? First question. And the other question is this right for me? Yeah, it's really important. Once you start doing that, innate boundaries will start coming in as you start to heal yourself, and you'll find that things change. Yes, there might be pushback from others around you because, oh my God, all of a sudden you're, not being so subservient. You're not being, quite the do as you're told kind of a person now. You're starting to listen to what is right for you. And when you do that and you continue to do that, others around you will start to change how they approach you, how they respond to you. So it's really important for you to start asking yourself, is this right for me? And another thing that I invite your audience to do is if they have any feeling like their emotions are feeling overwhelming, or perhaps there's a situation where their emotions are more than what the situation requires, I really invite your viewers to seek a professional therapist. Go to pages where people have association membership to ensure that you're seeking out the right professional assistance. And I invite viewers to also note that people who work with the body, I feel that that's where it's at. I feel that trauma, Bessel van der Kolk, he's massive in the US, big psychiatrist, and he notes that trauma cannot be healed from conscious mind therapy only. We need to start working with the body as well. So please seek professional therapy.
That's really helpful, Julie. Thank you so much. If you would like to know more about rejection and self-esteem, and Julie Makin, please visit her webpage on our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll be back with another interesting guest and another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, Denise Mokadsi will explain what happens if you are struggling with menopause and how your genes guide you back to balance. Welcome back. Our second guest is health coach Denise Mokadsi. We'll be discussing the topic of if you're suffering with menopause, how your genes can help guide you back to balance. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, how are you going?
Why do women experience such different symptoms when it comes to hormonal changes during menopause?
Everyone's different, and hormonal fluctuation during menopause can be such a roller coaster for so many different women. I think understanding why symptoms are so different from one woman to another can be really clearly understood using the lens of epigenetics. And so epigenetics is a term that maybe some people have heard of. The viewers might have heard of the term but don't really understand it. And I find it really helpful to help women understand what they're going through and perhaps why they're going through certain symptoms. And so epigenetics, the way I like to explain it is you can think of a recipe, for example, and you've got all the different ingredients that go into that recipe, but how you put that recipe together, or how you add the ingredients, or how much if it's a pinch of salt and maybe the pinch is a big pinch or a little pinch, that will all affect the final taste of that recipe. And so we're a little bit like that. That's a little bit like our genes. Our genes are all the ingredients. We can't really change our genetic information, but how we put it together is like our lifestyle. And the whole picture of that is basically epigenetics. So it's our lifestyle, all the things that we're doing in our life that influence our genes or the expression of our genes. There's a couple of reasons why women will experience going through menopause very different from one another. One, our genes are different, so how we're going to experience hormonal changes will be different just because of the genes that we've got and how our body responds to those hormonal changes. And also our lifestyles are quite different from one another. So both of those things, as part of what the epigenetics is going to be a big factor in how women experience menopause or the perimenopausal transition. So when we can look at both elements, we can help women really understand what's going on. We can look at their genes. We can see how they might be detoxing or not detoxing estrogen, for example, and estrogen will change quite a lot through the perimenopausal period. And what are their lifestyle habits? What are they doing that might be worsening some of the symptoms that are associated with menopause?
How can women understanding their genetics influence things like weight loss, hot flushes, anxiety, that sort of thing?
We can look at certain genes and we can tell women, or anybody really, how they will metabolize fats, what kind of rate of metabolism they have, and what other factors might be missing, or like enzymes or vitamins or cofactors that cause certain reactions to happen in the body that help. So for example, there's a gene that helps you detox estrogen. If someone doesn't have that gene, or there's a variation on that gene, how they detox estrogen will be very different to someone who has the gene. That's some ways that we can use it. The other ways that we can use it doesn't even have to be the genetic sequence or those ingredients in the recipe. If they're carrying a lot of weight, for example, we might look at what foods are they eating. Is that not suited to their genetics? And is that just adding another stress on their hormonal changes through menopause? They get another stress to that. So we will just do an assessment and see all the lifestyle things that they're doing, what things could they improve on to help improve their symptoms.
Denise, in terms of tips for our viewers, what are some key lifestyle changes women can make to support better hormonal health during the periods of premenopause and menopause?
So again, we can get right down to individual strategies for people depending on what their genes are and their lifestyle, but probably generally for most women going through menopause, because it is such a hormonal roller coaster, a lot of it is under the influence of how we're metabolizing or sensitive to insulin. So a big key thing for perimenopausal or menopausal women to think about is their carbohydrate or sugar consumption. And by that I don't mean carbohydrates from fruits and vegetables, like whole food carbohydrates are still quite good, but it's more the highly processed carbohydrates and the sugars that are influencing how much insulin is released. And when that is more of a load during menopause, when hormones are already fluctuating quite a lot, it adds another thing for that body to try to balance and to work out. Menopause is a very good time to see what's going on under the surface. Sometimes when you've got a few little things during menopause, those problems become much bigger. So sugar and insulin is a big one for menopausal women, but also alcohol is a really big one too, because again, of the detoxing of the hormones during menopause, that's a big load for the liver. And when we add alcohol into the system, the liver also has to try to manage the alcohol and detox the alcohol. So it's just another load, and it just means that the liver's not working to manage the hormone detoxification processes, and we feel the results of those toxins building up in the body more. And another important thing is about muscle mass. As we get older, muscles shrink. We're not growing muscle as much. And they get smaller. We lose muscle mass over years. And that's everybody. But for menopausal women especially, we want to make sure that we're maintaining muscle mass to protect our bones, like to have some good solid weight on the bones to strengthen the bones. And also muscle is very metabolically active tissue, and a lot of women during menopause struggle with their metabolism and gaining weight. So the more muscle we have, the higher our metabolism is, and that can help manage, these common frustrations of weight gain during menopause. But I think, if someone's really struggling with all of these things, they've got a lot of symptoms and they're a bit at a loss of where to go, it's always great to reach out for some professional advice and seek assistance to really help you get on top of a lot of the health things that happen.
Thanks, Denise. That information is so important, I think, to many of our viewers. If you'd like to know more about Denise and how genes can have such an important influence on menopausal symptoms, please go to Denise's webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic. Stay tuned. After the break, Naturopath lecturer and author Michèle Wolff will be talking about how food affects our digestive system and nervous system's health. Welcome back. Our next guest, Michèle Wolff, is a naturopath, author and lecturer, and the topic we'll be discussing is how food affects our digestive and nervous systems. Welcome, Michèle.
Thank you, Megan.
So how does food affect our digestive system?
Food can have a big impact on our digestion because it's going straight into our digestive system, and you've got several organs of your digestive systems. So when you eat food, it can impact that and put more strain on that, and it can also impact the way that your bowel moves, which is called peristalsis. So for example, if you eat too much sugar, you'll put a lot of pressure on your pancreas with the insulin production. So if that goes on and you have too much sugar, you can be at risk for diabetes, for example. And then also if you have too much sugar, that becomes a breeding ground for pathology. So you can get an overgrowth of abnormal bacteria like fungus and parasites. So eating can really affect your mood. More junk foods, white flours, sugars, unhealthy drinks, so too much alcohol, too much soft drink, too much caffeine, can have a negative effect on your gut and on your brain. And then if you're overloading your digestive system with any food, that can cause a problem as well. So for example, if you overeat meat and you're not having vegetables with the meat and you're eating that late at night, your stomach can't handle it. So it takes a lot to produce enough hydrochloric acid to break down that meat into a soup. And you want to have really good amounts of plant food to create that nice microbe, like having healthy soil, to produce a really healthy intestine. And you want to be having food that has the right amount of nutrients to give you energy and to help your nervous system and to help your mood. So when you've broken that food down in your stomach, your small intestine, which is 22 feet that goes from the stomach, that absorbs all your good nutrients. So you want to have plenty of nutrients for energy and for relaxation and to feed all your other organs, and for your diet to be more anti-inflammatory rather than pro-inflammatory. Having more of a Mediterranean diet with lots of legumes, lots of green leafy vegetables, good oils like olive oils, nuts and seeds, they have a really positive effect. And having a variety. So if you have 40 different plant foods a week, that feeds your whole microbiome. Now that can seem overwhelming, but if you have a curry, say, with 7 spices, those spices count as plant food. So you could have as a base onion, garlic, a turmeric, cumin, and some Italian herbs, and you've got quite a range already. So it's increasing the diversity of plant foods and avoiding unhealthy drinks and unhealthy foods, particularly junk foods, particularly sugars, and keeping carbohydrates quite low as well. So carbohydrates should only be quarter of your diet, not half of your diet.
How does food actually affect our nervous system?
So food affects your nervous system in a couple of ways. Firstly, by the nutrients it contains. So your nervous system needs a lot of magnesium, a lot of calcium, a lot of potassium, a lot of B vitamins in order to operate effectively. And the adrenal glands, which are part of your nervous system that are responsible for the flight and fright, they use up a lot of vitamin C. So you need to feed and nourish them with those good nutrients and good complex carbohydrates, which give you energy without overdoing the carbohydrates. And the things that negatively impact the nervous system are your cakes and your biscuits and your fast foods. And you know, if you're healthy, the 80-20 rule is okay. If 80% of the time your diet is good and you're creating that really healthy microbiome, you're absorbing really good nutrients, then 20% of the time, you know, you can have your treats. It just depends on where you are. If you've got a serious disease, then you have to be stricter for longer. And if you have some sort of pathology, that will have an effect on your nervous system in making you more irritable or more angry. And so starving that out by not having carbohydrates and sugars will help your mood. And then you've got foods that really help to relax you. So a glass of warm milk with a spice, say some warm milk with cardamom, or if you can't tolerate milk, then hot coconut milk or almond milk is very, very soothing, relaxing, and can help you sleep better, which is part of your nervous system as well. And then you've got foods that spice the nervous system up a bit. So a little bit of dark chocolate has something called theothrombin in it, which is a little bit like caffeine, so that will make you very alert. But if you overdo the dark chocolate, you'll get anxiety and you'll be too hyperactive. So that's part of your nervous system as well. So it's just having that balance of not having things that make you too hyperactive and anxious, and not having things that make you depressed and sluggish, and keeping that middle balance with a good Mediterranean diet and anti-inflammatory foods and spices.
Do you have any special tips for our viewers?
So if you're having junk foods, move to a more healthy junk food. So for example, takeaways, sushi takeaway would be much more healthy than a pizza. So just have a look around at what you can do. If you have really busy days, on the days that you're not busy, get some glass containers and freeze lots of meals so that you can pull them out on days that you're busy, and then you'll have less junk food. Avoid having things in the house that are unhealthy. So, you know, you don't have to have chocolates and biscuits and cakes in the house unless you're having a particular visitor that day, but it's not healthy for your family either. And instead have an abundance of fruit and vegetables in your pantry and in your fridge and on your kitchen bench, so that they are healthy snacks. Nuts and seeds are healthy snacks as well.
That's such good information, Michèle. Thank you. If you'd like to know more about how food affects our digestive system and our nervous system and Michèle Wolff, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll say bye-bye for now, and we'll see you next time. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.